Welcome to Hospitality Property School. This podcast is where savvy hotel, inn, bed and breakfast, and resort owners and managers get their weekly dose of hospitality property tactics and strategies from authorities in the hospitality industry. They will share their decades of experience and help you find success. You are listening to Hospitality Property School with your host, Jerry McPherson. Welcome to another edition of Hospitality Property School. I am your instructor, Jerry McPherson, and today I'm going to look at how to manage your millennial workforce. If you're operating a hospitality property, there is a pretty good chance that most, if not all, of your employees are millennials. Now you might be thinking, my employees are my employees. I don't differentiate between the generations. Actually, I don't know the difference between the generations. Well, here's a quick review. Baby boomers were born between the years of 1946 and 1964. Generation X, or baby busts, were born between 1965 and 1979. Extennials, or Generation Y, or the Millennials, were born in the early 80s to 1994. After that came Gen Z, or Generation Z, from 1995 to 2012. So today, why am I focusing on Gen Y, or the Millennials? Well, as I said, the Millennials were born in the early 1980s to 1994, so that would make them between the ages of 24 to 38 years of age. The majority of hospitality properties I have visited have had employees that fall between those ages. They grew up in an electronics-filled and progressively online and socially networked world. As the most ethnically diverse generation, millennials tend to be tolerant of differences. Having been raised under the mantra, follow your dreams, and being told they were special, they tend to be confident. Sometimes this spills over into realms of entitlement and narcissism. One study reported the result of millennial optimism is entering into adulthood with unrealistic expectations, which sometimes leads to disillusionment. Many earlier millennials went through post-secondary education only to find themselves employed in unrelated fields or underemployed and job hopping more frequently than the previous generations. For this reason, they think, work, and respond differently than other generations, particularly those who would comprise the senior hotel manager, corporate executive, or consultant levels. This empathy gap would have significant ramifications, and learning to effectively work with this younger generation is a necessary step towards delivering on your business goals. Millennials are often their own worst enemies, as they take many things for granted. They were nurtured more than past generations with helicopter parenting and participation trophies for just about any competition, and they've come to know a world as one where automation has assumed countless manual or arduous tasks. I don't want you to assume that all is lost for this age group. Far from it. I have seen and worked with many incredible millennials. What I am going to do with you is share some of the ways to deal with a few of the millennials' idiosyncrasies. Appreciating your property's priorities. Don't think that this is immediately obvious or understood when first hired. It is crucial to spend time on not only identifying what the priorities are for your property, but why these priorities are important. This is where an operations manual is essential. Only by being clear about the end results of any operational activity will fortify all your employees' commitments to accomplish these goals. Next, you must keep in mind the myth whereby individuals of this generation may be more easily distracted by new or upcoming personal entitlements. So a straightforward solution is to rely on checklists and regular reviews to keep their eye on the prize. Being self-centered. Have you ever had an employee that has asked for time off when you're operating at peak occupancy? Well, seasoned members of your team would never ever consider asking because they know the strain this puts on everyone else. Millennials are more likely to focus on their personal lifestyles without thinking of the company. The responsibility is on you to gently yet thoroughly tutor these young minds about the natural ebbs and flows of the annual business cycle, as well as how individual actions might resonate throughout a property and impact other staff's duties. Again, an open conversation about job expectations and responsibilities is required, along with all this being documented in your operations manual. Basic gaps in knowledge. Don't assume. What you would consider being common knowledge might not be in a millennial's social lexicon, or even that they would be naturally fascinated to learn more about the issues and historical milestones of your generation. Education priorities have evolved over the years, and the knowledge that we have taken for granted might not have been in the average millennial's school course load. The lesson here is to never assume what someone's past education may or may not encompass, and to be patient when referencing the past so they do not take offense or feel you are talking down to them. Your employees' writing skills. Daily use of social media has slightly compelled the millennial's mind to think of language in terms of sound bites. This is intensified by colleges and universities opting to use multiple choice tests over those requiring an essay-type answer. For this reason, basic writing skills have lapsed, with many members of this demographic unable to write a one-page memo with a direct thought process and proper sentence grammar. Similar to this, reading abilities have declined, meaning that lengthy emails may go unread, or that you'll only see an effective follow-up to the first part, but nothing else. The key to your response here is in your tone. It's okay to ask for a rewrite or to offer suggestions for next time, but you must do it softly and as a mentor, not an irritated dictator. Time off policies. We understand the importance of paid time off for the death of a close loved one, a spouse, parents, grandparents, and siblings. But how many days do you give as bereavement leave for a great uncle? Or how many days do you allow for the death of your favorite pet sloth? What if one of your employees call in sick, but say they're going to work from home? Do you deduct a sick day, or let it slide? Yes, millennials are sensitive, which is one of their greatest strengths. However, there is a limit, and it is up to you to be totally transparent from the start what your time off policy is so that it isn't abused. Again, this needs to be documented in your operations manual. Am I starting to sound like a broken record? Reducing distractions. Multitasking does not work. Our minds can only do one thing well at a time. Yet walk around any property and see how many smartphones are on a desk, within the eye line, or being actively engaged at that moment. Let me give you an example of what I mean. How would you feel if you saw your auto mechanic working on your engine while watching a baseball game and answering texts? Sure, it can be done. But is that mechanic giving 100% of their attention to your car? Or is there a possibility something's being missed? The solution here, once again, is to fall back on policy, your operations manual. Plainly and precisely stating what you allow for smartphone use and why these rules are in place. In conclusion, millennials can be a great asset. No, let me change that. Are a great asset to any hospitality property. But it's important to realize there are differences between the generations. And with the proper organization and a little patience, you can go a long way to building your dream team. If you have any stories about how to manage your millennial workforce and would like to share or have any questions or feedback, leave them in the comments section of the show notes. You can find them at KeystoneHospitalityDevelopment.com KHDC085. Well, that's it for today's episode of Hospitality Property School. If you have topic ideas, please reach out to us on Facebook at facebook.com/KeystoneHDC, on Twitter at twitter.com/KeystoneHDC, or by email at info@KeystoneHospitalityDevelopment.com. As always, let's work together to put more heads in your beds. Until next time, have a fun day. This session of Hospitality Property School has come to a close. Be sure to subscribe so as not to miss any hospitality property tactics and strategies that will help you find the success you have always dreamed of. And don't forget to rate and review so we can continue to bring you the best content possible. We will see you next time, right here in Hospitality Property School.